I'm Tony Ambler. I'm currently Chairman of the Department of Electrical and Computer Engineering at the University of Texas at Austin. Electrical engineering and undergraduate teaching and experiments is becoming increasingly expensive. Previously we were constrained ultimately by cost, but now with myDAQ we can have students playing around with things in their own time, which means we can do more with our students, which means that they can have a much better and deeper understanding of electrical circuit behavior. Some of the greatest challenges I think that we as educators have is making sure that our students have exposure to real circuits and real hardware. But then the problem becomes one of cost. Our budgets are getting less and less. Cost of doing electronics, particularly in the domains that we need to work in to make kids ready for working in industry, is getting more and more expensive. The myDAQ is helping us to reverse that trend and enabling us to do more. So the real issue from using myDAQ, from my perspective, is it makes it affordable for us to demonstrate real electrical engineering principles to the students and for them to be able to get their hands on the real circuits and see what happens. So that rather than us just demonstrating with a simulation or showing an overhead projector with a graph on what happens when you do this and that and the other, they can actually play around with real circuits. They can change the tolerances on the components. They can take a wire out to see what effect that has on the overall behavior of the circuit. And yes, they can begin to see what goes wrong when something goes wrong and they short out a component and it starts to get hot and maybe stops working. And I think exposure to the realities of electrical engineering is just as valuable as anything else that we can show them. Clearly some of the other benefits to us of being able to use something like myDAQ is that we can begin to allow the students to have unsupervised use of equipment and play around with circuit design. Previously, we've had to do it in the lab because that's where we provide the equipment. We can't let them take it home because it's far too expensive, either for them to touch or break or drop, or because it's too complicated because they don't know how to use it, or even from safety aspects with the type of stuff that we're playing around with. But now that with myDAQ, we can give them myDAQ, it plugs into their USB port into their laptop at home, we can give them small packets of components for them to play around, and basically they can tinker. They can just play around unsupervised, and so they can do some of the basic stuff on their own, which gives us the opportunity to spend more time on the more complicated issues when they do get back into the laboratory.